You know, academic research is the funniest beast. Um, from the outside, if somebody is really, let me talk about this. If you don't know it and you're really, really green on what's going on, so I mean, like you maybe you just have a high school education or just a undergraduate college education, you look at it and you'd say, how, professors have this like really easy job or researchers have this really easy job. They get summers off, unlimited amount of time. They rarely teach anything. I remember talking to somebody, it repeatedly comes up. When I tell people how much I actually teach, and I teach 3 courses, which is actually really heavy for somebody who's doing research. Um, and when I say that to somebody, they're like, 3 courses? That's it? That's all you do? And yeah, that's all I do, I suppose. But then when you're in it, when you're in the actual game and you do it, um, you realize that the demands that are put on you are just off the charts. And then you really question how people actually do it. Like, realistically, this is what researchers really need to do is they need to write 10 to 15 pages a day. They probably should be reading about 200 pages a day. And then, if you have time, you're analyzing data, but that's only if you have time because it's not really relevant. Um, you know, the, this is the thing that you end up having to do, right? And I do read and write a tremendous amount, um, like a lot, but it's still not enough, right? Like it's I am not productive. In the grand scheme of things, how people look at it. And it's really fascinating because when you look at the most people that are the most productive, and you ask yourself, how are you actually doing this? The truth is they're not. They're using all sorts of other things, and I'm not. I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist. So I just see that there is a lot more real. There's other things that are going on. Um, so physically doing something like being able to do that is pretty hard to do, and it's unsustainable for a long time. Right. So if you look at a lot of the business models of most universities that are highly, highly, research productive, they often, and I'm not speaking for my institution. I'm speaking for, a lot of different institutions. It's just the nature of the beast is that, in general, um, they kind of work you, that's the style is they work you and then you just kind of like disappear. Um, and that is the style, right? Like that's how it's set up. That's how it's physically. And I know that like you don't believe that, and this is I'm not saying this to be negative. I'm saying this is the reality. This is the nature of it. And so that the funny thing is when I tell people this, I have to be like super cagey on who I'm telling. This is really funny because it's like super public, but it's not really public because nobody listens to it. Um, but you know, on the grand scheme of things, when you talk to people about what you actually do, it's you have wild reactions. Um, and people just really misunderstand the profession dramatically. Um, even if you're really in the profession, you don't really get it unless you do it on a regular basis. It's like almost anything, right? Like if you're watching football, right? If you just play high school football, you kind of have a sense of how this thing works. But then when you go into college football, it's a different beast, right? It's totally different. And it's the same sort of thing. If you're watching it, or even if you're just kind of like, yeah, you kind of have like a cursory understanding of it, you don't understand how this actually works. And it's very difficult to sort of communicate what it actually is and what it entitles. Um, so, before you overreact in either direction, um, in how you understand something, just know that the game is completely different than what you think it is. If you think that, you know, from the outside that the research people don't do anything, they don't teach or anything like that, well, you're highly mistaken. Um, if you think of it in this, I mean, that's like the consensus support according to social culture. But then on the flip side is like, if you're in it, you think that, it's impossible. Um, and I'm gonna just tell you this right now. Here's the thing, right? So first of all, they're both wrong. If somebody else is doing it, you can do it too. And you just have to set what it means for you to do this particular thing given who you actually are. And that's the critical thing, is that if you compete and you try to compete in the sense of like how people view it and they understand it, you're never going to win. You're going to always feel behind. There's always somebody better than you, and it's going to feel miserable the whole time. And it's very, very easy to get into that competition mode. The way that I deal with this is I ignore everything. And I used to like, you know, it's really tough, but I used to, go and look at what other people are doing. I ignore it altogether, unless I'm feeling just as miserable, I feel awful. Um, you know, then I'll go down and look to see what other people are doing. But you have to protect yourself. Um, and you have to focus on getting your own research done. And the protection is your ego, right? Like, I am not necessarily as fragile as what I sort of let on in terms of my ego, but in the profession, it eats people up pretty easily. And so you have to be used to just ignoring things and going forward. And the reason why it eats people up is that you're constantly compared, and you're ranked, ordered, and all that and there's no like it's a really poor mechanism in terms of how you're ranked, ordered. Um, so what you need to do with any of it is realize that everybody is totally misinformed unless you play the game. If you play the game, you realize that you don't know how to do anything. Um, if you are from the outside, just, give people slack because you probably don't understand. And there is a lot that goes on between what happens. And so just realize it as you're doing things. Um, really get a good sense, making inferences from the outside or even making inferences from being close, you're missing things. And you have to really think twice about what is really going on and be a lot more astute of what's actually going on. And if you do that, you'll have a lot more empathy about what is going on in other people's shoes. And then as well, you'll be much more informed with the process. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.